Wrestling comes in many forms. There's the entertainment side, the larger-than-life characters, the intense storylines, the very energetic promos, and there's also the pro wrestling side, based on pure wrestling skill with crazy athleticism and chemistry. The WWE was mainly based on entertainment. Throughout the years, WWE kept falling deeper and deeper into their cringy PG hole, and people were tired of it. There was a crave for something different. There would be a spotlight on indie promotions. The amount of talent in the indies were genuinely crazy, right? And this is where everything came together. The vision, the money, and the talent. A friendly bet would be placed between Cody Rhodes and a journalist named Dave Meltzer. Dave said that he didn't think Ring of Honor could sell out an arena with 10,000 plus fans. So, the Elite, who was Cody and the Young Bucks, took him up on that bet. This led to All In 2018, the biggest non-WWE indie show of all time, selling over 10,000 tickets with an attendance of 11,263 and a buy rate of 50,000 buys. But that isn't even the most important thing about the show. In the crowd would be a very wealthy man that was a wrestling superfan, Tony Khan. The vision had met the money. Tony Khan was watching from afar and saw there was a market for a second big wrestling company in North America. Since TNA fell out of place, it was the perfect time. Within months of All In 2018, rumors would be flooding. Lo and behold, in January of 2019, we'd get confirmation that an alternative was finally in the works. Some people were skeptical, but for the majority, there was hype. Tony Khan's father is a billionaire, with his net worth being over $14 billion. Basically, what that means is Tony could play with whatever toys he wanted. AEW would then go on to sign Chris Jericho. And you can say whatever you want about Jericho now, but back then, he was such an integral piece of AEW. For the hardcore fans, you had Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. For the casual fans, you had Chris Jericho and Cody Rhodes. They had a perfect balance of everything, perfect timing, and the support of the fans. Jericho went on Stone Cold's podcast and said you need 3 things to start a big wrestling company: finance and passion, a TV deal, and talent. So not only was it the perfect timing, but they had all of this. Before their first big pay-per-view, AEW announced their initial TV deal with Warner Media on May 15th, 2019. And this show would be called AEW Dynamite, and it would air on TNT in October of 2019. They had everything going on paper, but now they had to actually prove it was worth the hype. Double or Nothing 2019. I'ma just keep it P. They over-delivered. I'm not gonna say it was legendary by any means. There was botches here and there, production issues and shit, but that comes with the territory. It's a new company, what do you expect? There was also a lot of randoms on the show, but it didn't matter. Like Peter Avalon, a librarian, like what? When you have a good system and good team, everybody eats. Even like Marco Stunt, I don't know why he was there. But there was just a high throughout this show. You gotta think, for a lot of the old people, they haven't seen a big stage like this or competition in like 20 years at this point, okay? The WWE was the top dog. And once you get that fight, that eager feel, it's like the whole industry changes. But let's talk about it. The 3 absolute highest points of the show. Number 1, Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes. A bloody sibling battle for the ages that they always wanted to do in WWE, but they never got the chance. It was so beautiful. But next up was the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks. We haven't seen tag team wrestling like this on a mainstream stage in so long. This match woke a lot of people up and made us realize how good tag team wrestling can truly be. But the main event was Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho. The match wasn't spectacular by any means, but the star power between fandoms was perfect. Forget that though. AEW would cement themselves as a firm number 2 when they got their first holy shit moment. Jon Moxley's AEW debut. Like we said earlier, perfect timing. WWE treated him horribly, and he bet on himself. Y'all should know Ambrose / Mox is one of my favorite wrestlers. So this was most definitely a gamble, but it made AEW legit. And from that day on, Moxley made himself a top main event star forever in AEW as long as he stays there. AEW would go on to have an insane streak of pay-per-views and TV shows. AEW looked like it was going to go off into a second gear, But unfortunately, the pandemic hit. They had damn near perfect timing with everything, but this was their first major blow. To any other company, this would probably kill it, but AEW survived. But not only did they survive in these times, they thrived. They innovated a very smart way to get the show going by having wrestlers spaced out in the crowd and also having cinematic matches before WWE did them, if I'm not mistaken. I will say though, they had one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. I almost stopped watching wrestling forever. It was Britt Baker versus Big Swole in a dentist office. Bro, it was awful. I'd rather watch a Bob Backlund match. TK must have agreed though, because months later he fired her ass via a tweet. And this is still why Cedric isn't in the Hurt Syndicate, by the way. But to me, AEW did something so special that really meant a lot to a lot of people, and that was the Brody Lee tribute show. One of the most beautiful wrestling shows I've ever seen top to bottom. What was a tragic loss to wrestling united everybody. Everybody was paying attention to this. One of AEW's biggest signings ever said one of the reasons they signed was because of this show right here. We'll talk about that a little bit later though. Once AEW looked like they were finally about to hit another level, one of their biggest blows would hit. Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega at Revolution 2021. A deathmatch gone wrong. One of the funniest yet pathetic endings ever would occur. They didn't let it rattle them though, because after this blunder, AEW would turn up to the max. Like yeah, that ending was embarrassing, but they couldn't go down like that. They had to keep getting better and better. AEW's biggest signing and biggest story paid off this year, and it was Dream Match Central. Let's talk about it. CM Punk's wrestling return. I cried. I gotta admit it. Tears were shed. My personal favorite debut / return ever, and nothing will ever top it. Sold out a 20,000 ticket show off of rumors. That is like J. Cole going platinum with no features. If you ever want to put someone onto wrestling, don't show them a match. Trust. Show them this. This would all lead to All Out 2021, the single greatest AEW pay-per-view of all time. Back then in 2019 and 2020, the only thing really holding AEW back was their roster. They really didn't have enough depth, so you would see a lot of people that didn't belong on the shows. They flipped that completely. Fans were back, 205,000 buy rate, top to bottom perfection. You had Moxley and Suzuki, Miro and Eddie Kingston, Britt Baker and Chris Statlander. You had Jericho and MJF, Punk's first match back versus Darby, and my favorite two matches, the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers in a steel cage. Dare I say, my favorite tag team match ever. And I promise, I don't want to be like an AEW meat rider. I'm just being real. I might have to rewatch it, but yeah, man, come on. But the main event, Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage. Matter of fact, forget the match. We're here for the ending. Omega gets on the mic, pops his shit, and says the only people that would beat me are either not here, retired, or already dead. The lights went out, and Adam fucking Cole comes out. I lost a bet on this, but I was still jumping for joy, okay? Like, I feel like not many people expected this at this time. Like, this was a crazy feeling, and it was just, I don't know. I remember there was a report out that they were going to make Adam Cole into a manager, so yeah, I should have known better, but still, it was crazy. But here's a little fun fact. When he said people that were already dead, as on BTE years prior, they killed off Adam Cole, so I thought that was a little cool Easter egg. Yeah, pretty damn cool. But Adam Cole confronts Kenny, psych, super kick the Juggly Boy, and he hugs the Elite. We have been swerved. Kenny gets on the mic again, says goodbye, mwah, and good night, bang. And then Daniel Bryan comes out. A double debut, Tony? That's how you feeling? At this point, I was screaming like a little girl. JR was on commentary. Everything was right in the world. I know you guys were screaming like girls too. Come on, stop lying. But if you doubted AEW before, you didn't now. They were legit. Not being 100%, this is up there with Mania 40. But even Full Gear 2021, MJF versus Darby, MJF proved he could go in the ring, shattering the Miz comparisons. The Lucha Bros and FTR, Bryan versus Miro, Christian and the Jurassic Express versus the Elite, Punk versus Kingston. But this was Hangman's night. Throughout AEW, it was their mission to put Hangman on. But it was still organic. I have a Hangman video ready, let me know if you want to see it. But this was a 3-year story done right. Hangman deserved this win. our drunk cowboy made it. And there's just so much that happened this year that I didn't touch. MJF versus Punk's feud, Kenny versus Danielson on TV, Sting's wrestling rebirth, the Dark Order taking over and being hilarious, Darby taking some of the craziest bumps ever. I mean, that happens usually, actually. But there's a lot, man. You just had to be there. I was a huge WWE fan, so I was hate watching, I can't even lie. They upped the score on us so hard that I just became a fan over time. From 2019 to 2021, AEW was damn near untouchable. I remember when AEW brought in Punk, WWE tried to bring back Brock and Becky in the same night to counter it, and it still wasn't the same. My absolute favorite part of it though, I remember vividly watching Cena and Roman clashing on SmackDown, and then Punk running Rampage straight after. Wrestling in 2021, ladies and gentlemen, was peak. But in 2022, this is where the egos clash and the inner sabotaging kicked in. The sabotaging and horrible timing of injuries killed AEW's momentum completely. But to me, it all started when the news broke that Cody Rhodes was leaving the company. We didn't know at the time, but Cody's leadership backstage kept AEW together, and Cody was the glue. Basically, Cody wanted a big contract like he got before when AEW started, but this was a much different company than it was in 2019. With all the huge names they signed, Cody fell down the card, and the crowd hated him. But this is why you don't book your company by listening to the fans. They basically didn't see the vision, and Tony said no. This, in my opinion, is one of the biggest mistakes by any company ever. Not only did they give WWE the freest lob of all time with Cody going on to be their biggest babyface today, and even winning the big one twice, yeah, somehow, something even worse happened, and if Cody was there, I don't think this situation would have ever happened. The biggest controversy in AEW history. This all happened when Punk went after the AEW World Championship. More specifically, between Hangman and Punk. They probably felt slighted that he was getting a title shot so soon, but Hangman said something very telling. He said he was going to defend AEW from Punk, and Punk took this personally. Punk got mad that Hangman went off a script, and Punk acts like he doesn't go off script in every promo and didn't make a career off going off script. Like, what are we talking about? But throughout all Punk's beefs and promo battles in AEW, mostly all of them said the same thing about Punk. They really didn't think he was all for AEW, and he wasn't. This led to Double or Nothing 2022. As Punk was in his drama, we get another dose of drama down the card. MJF would no-show a meet and greet, and once again, Comic-Con wouldn't cough up a check. So rumors were swirling that MJF was going to no-show Double or Nothing. But he ended up showing up, and he got squashed by Wardlow. This basically ruined Wardlow's career. Even to this day, he never captured the heights he did, because basically everything that happened during the weekend just overshadowed his moment. Luckily for us though, we'd see this play out on live TV. MJF cut a pipe bomb where he addressed everything. When he signed in 2019, he wasn't a star at all. He wasn't a third of the star he was now. He called out TK for signing so many ex-WWE guys, and this whole thing was a terrible look. You gotta put people in check. There's a reason why Vince was the way he was. When you let people walk all over you, it makes you look like a dork. But once again, I just feel bad because all these just kept coming and coming at the same time. Tony couldn't catch a break. But let's go back to Punk. Punk would beat Hangman for the AEW title, but just days after Punk won, he broke his foot on the guardrail. I can't lie, this could have been karma. AEW wouldn't vacate the title like anybody else would. They'd make Moxley an interim champion. All this did was bring Mox into the beef, honestly. So basically right now, AEW is crumbling with Cody leaving, multiple injuries, and all the main eventers beefing within a few months. Pretty selfishly, I know. But this led to my personal favorite CM Punk AEW promo. Punk called out Moxley, Eddie Kingston, and Hangman. And during this, he gave Hangman a fake-ass title shot in his own hometown. Because everybody wants to be the champion until it's time to do champ shit. Jon Moxley is the third best guy in his own group, and that seems to be a reoccurring theme in his career. Yo, he was torching them, bro. CM Punk with a chip on his shoulder is like the best promo guy of all time. But you can tell this was real beef because Moxley came out pissed, while Punk showed blatant disrespect doing snow angels in front of him. But we finally get to it. The holy grail of side bitch syndrome will be recorded for the world to see. A couple weeks prior, Mox squashed Punk in 3 minutes in Cleveland, by the way, so the beef was highly agitated. Punk would go on to beat Moxley for the AEW title, but then MJF came back playing a recording of Tony Khan saying he'd actually pay the man. But, how poetic. Just how MJF stole Wardlow's moment, Punk snatched his moment straight back from MJF. Punk tore his triceps, and he said F it. He was going to go out with a bang. He shit on reporters, MJF, Moxley, Hangman, the Elite, basically the whole company, while the whole time, the owner of the company sitting right there, watching his company burn and doing nothing about it. You think this would have happened under Trips or Vince? Not a chance. He sat there while it matters most, and I felt bad for him, but there's no defending this. If you want to be taken seriously as a boss, you gotta press people and stick up for yourself. This turned me completely off from AEW, as I stopped watching quickly after this. I would tune in time to time to see some things like the corny co-promos, MJF versus Cole, Westside Gunn's involvement, but the main one I tune in for is Will Ospreay. That boy is tough. That he might be one of the greatest in-ring wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. But I just know over the years, I've accumulated some things TK needs to do and some key mistakes AEW has been doing. Number one, please keep WWE out of your mouth, bro. It was funny at first, but you guys got way too cocky. Number two, Tony needs a writing team. He's probably super busy, and one man cannot write a weekly show. It's just not possible. Number three, you gotta stop letting talent like Mercedes supersize himself with these huge egos. 12 belts, either Tony is trying to crack or there's a relationship, because there is no other way she got that many titles. Number four, they need to find a way to make it safer for the talent. There is an overwhelming amount of AEW wrestlers getting injured and even retiring on the sake of their hands. Look at the big ones. Even right now, Will Ospreay is out. Kenny's been injured. Eddie Kingston was out. And so much more talent. Adam Cole was out. It's insane. And it sucks to say, but it looks like Adam Cole is going to retire, bro. Even Bryan Danielson, he's contemplating retirement. Kota Ibushi's going to be out for another 2 years. It's bad, man. Another problem is they signed too many talent to even focus on, so a lot of wrestlers got lost in the motion. But my biggest problem with AEW is them canceling my main man Double J's retirement tour. The last real outlaw. JEFF, JARRETT. What does that spell? Jeff Jarrett. Yo, his old ass. I saw a backstage promo where he was like trying to win the world title for Owen Hart. Like, bro, he's been dead for like 25 years, bro. I'm like, alright, it's bad, but I'm trolling, my bad. Yeah, but AEW could come back again, I'm sure of it. As long as they don't purposely leak fights like this again, they should be straight. But I really think AEW can make a comeback, as TK is a fan at heart. I think he will make it right. If WWE keeps doing what they're doing, AEW will come back in no time. We talked about a lot of negatives with AEW, but there's also a lot of positives. There's so many wrestlers getting paid and a spotlight, and if you're bad in WWE, you can just switch over to AEW and just become a star if you need to. Like if you're being treated badly, like Samoa Joe, he went over to AEW, became a world champion. Like there's a lot going on, and you'll see stuff in AEW that you haven't seen since like the Attitude Era in WWF. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot to enjoy. But to me, there's a lot of people that hate on AEW. They say it's too like choreographed, and I understand. But to me, it's a no-brainer. Would you rather watch 10 minutes of Randy Orton headlocks or 10 minutes of Young Bucks super kicks? I think they'll get better, though. For all the AEW fans out there, AEW's going to be straight, all right? If AEW fixed their negatives, they'd low-key be on top right now in the fans' minds. They got to go back to their old formulas. Somewhere around the way, they reversed like all their motives. They used to focus on storytelling. They had like 5 pay-per-views a year, and it just felt way more as a team than what it is now. They have like 10 matches, like 5 out of the 10 matches, everybody's bleeding. It's just too much. They're doing a little bit too much, okay? And I remember I read a report somewhere, this low-key broke my heart, that Tony Khan was looking out for YouTubers to ask for advice about the shows and the booking and all that stuff. That's just so sad. You just need a booking team, bro. He needs a booking team. That's all he needs. And that shows, though, that he's willing to listen to other people. That is a great sign. Instead of just hating on AEW aimlessly, we got to come together as a community to fix all their problems and just tell them what they're doing wrong and tell them what they're doing right and focus on the positives. But anyways, man, like, comment, subscribe, rock with the talk, say goodbye to AI, and this is the conduction of Brothers of Production.